Section 5, On the Road Troubleshooting. This section is a reprint of the original issue of the On the Road Troubleshooting booklet, which has met with which approval among the railroad personnel, provided the checklist for the calling with the operator's attention for the trouble with the most frequently encountered with the railroad, which can be quickly remedied with their eliminate the most many delays. No attempt is made to explain the general operation function of the equipment of the locomotive for the judge's information referred to the first 5 sections of this manual. What is necessary to make the locomotive to operate the following 13 items essential: item A and to D of the cab, which are operating with the items of the A and E to M are all units of the locomotive. The pneumatic control switch line must be not burn if the light is burning. See question 2 with the page 505. The light is not to be burning. But figure 5.1. The control fuel pump with the generator fuel pump tons fuel button must be pushed in, operating with the cab only, with the switches must be cut out, looked at, locked at all control stations. These 3 buttons must be pushed in, figure 3.2.5.2. The engine reverse level must be in with the forward reverse position, transition level in number 1 position. All the brakes must be released, and all the switches each of the distribution panel must be closed in figure 5.9. The fuse marked with the X should be tested to be sure if they're good. If the ammeter show the discharge of the engine running, with a check with the auxiliary, check and change of the fuse, starting with the 400 amperes and the control in the fuel pump. This fuse is for the fuel pump unit. Control air pressure gauge must not read less than 70 pounds. Correct value with 80 correct value 80 pounds. There must be approximately not 80 pounds of the control air pressure for the gauge for the next each of the distribution panel. If there's no pressure within the correct pressure gauge, see question 10, page 510. 510. If the fuel pump is in, all the units must be running and the fuel flow through the cycle after them. Not refer to the question 5 and 6, page 506 and 507. The fuel must be following through this glass, through the one side beside it. The engine must be running. If stopped, refer to question 7, page 508. Isolation switch must be in the run position. Push the button to feed the fuel gauge. The switch must be on to get the fuel pump to run. The license switch and switch must be down firmly to run position. If the ground protective relay must be set with a trip of the red dot, refer to the question 9 with the page 510. The hand will point to the yellow dot if the relay with the properly set with the yellow dot and red dot. The starting contactor must not be stuck closed. The main contacts must be open. Interlockers must be closed and clean. Your battery field fuse, all units must be good. This is the 80 amp battery field fuse. Be sure that all handbrakes are fully released. How can I make the positive control switch open with the light gauge out? With the positive control switch open and light with it can be burned only with the emergency penalty application of the brakes. Penalty application which may in one cause for the removing of the foot by the safety control foot with the pedal overloading the speed of the locomotive. The application with the cut of the train devices to get the light and out of the good procedure. But be sure with the throttles in idle position. Then take whatever the air stops are necessary to really release the automatic brake. If the brakes are applied with the surface of the brake of the valve may be placed in the lap, therefore the light will goes out. If there has been an emergency application, the brake valve must be lapped and then moved in the running position before the light will go out. If you do not have to get out the pneumatic control switch open and the light to go out, what will happen? Engines will idle about 5 minutes after that. The engines may stop in lack of the fuel sensor with the pneumatic control switch open and light with the burning. All the fuel pump with the locomotives are stopped. If the engine stops with the pneumatic control switch open, the burning will blue with the light will come on. The alarm bell stops ringing. No. If the fuel pump is not running, what can be done? Well, check the other pump locomotives to see if they are running. If the fuel pumps are stopped, check these items shown in the figure 5.1, 5.2, 5.3 of this section. Only fuel pumps is one with the stop. Be sure with the switch engine control panel figure 5.5 is determined on the control of the fuel pump motor with the fuse for the in this unit figure 5.3 are okay. 6. If the fuel pump is running but the fuel pump does not show fuel return cycle glass, what can be done with the fuel flowing with the other glass with the 45 pound next to the return cycle glass with the fuel filters clogged with nothing can be done. And aim the fuel either with the glass, check with the fuel supply with the tap in the tank, check with the either emergency fuel cutoff valve when the locomotive the fuel tank has been tripped. If the valve is properly suction set, the suction strainers may be clogged. If the tools are available, the Wastex and remove the filter element, replace any of the weight Wastex. Figure 5.9 show that the fuel tank sump of the set and then the tripped. The figure 7. If you find any in the engine is stopped with that, what should I do? With the pull the isolation switch in the handle to the start position. Make sure that the switches on the distribution panel of the unit are closed with the fuse good. Then be sure the fuel pump switch is on the on. Check the fuel return cycle glass for the good fuel flow. Locate the overspeed trip of the move with the counterclockwise to be sure that it's set. Figure 5.10. You set the the overspeed trip lever. Be sure to low oil press the trip button with the governor of the push of the red part with the shaft, the now showing figure 511. Hold the lay shaft, pay the weight on the start of the engine, pressing the start button, check with the ground, protect the relay 5.6 at the start contactor 5.7. Then put the isolation switch down, running position engine throttle on the number 2 position, lower back of the valve, the 3 position higher to hold the back to layer shaft with the running surge in the engine speed. Figure 511 showed the Woodward governor with the oil trip button set. How can I tell the engine is putting out with the power? With the engineer with the throttle of the 8 running an 8 position pilot pulling a train within the plate with the plate of the governor should appear with the figure 511. The right hand scale does not read the 8 and the reads the idle with the isolation switch may not be in the running or on the ground protective relay may be tripped with the 8 of the right hand scale with the show of the 8 and the number of the left hand scale 8 to 10. The engine is not low, but there is probably electrical trouble. The check with the battery field fuse it might be blown figure 5.8 and the control air figure 5.3 may be low. If it does not correct the condition of the note, the engineer reduce the throttle of the idle momentarily with the return of the run 8. Check the scale over the governor plate again 9. How the ground protective relay set with the isolation engine plate for the ground protective relay with set with the figure 5.7. Place the isolation switch firmly in the run position. Ground protective relay reconvene with the trip of the isolate engine shut down. How can I get the control air pressure on the gauge? Control air pressure may shut off with the air at piping with the control air regulator. Regulator may set the low with the turning down with the clockwise reset. Rate of the pressure air may shut off the valve with the control cabinet with the control air come with the main reserve. The main reserve pressure must be built up. Pressure on the gauge should be at least 70 pounds. Control air pressure ahead of the main reserve acceptable to emergency. The current X setting is 80 pounds. And then there's a chart. Each chart says locomotive troubleshooting with the cause of the trouble, then the engine stops suddenly with the symptoms, the engine goes in idle, engine generator unloads, overspeeding, the engine stops suddenly, pneumatic control switch trip, engine stops suddenly, and engine goes to idle. All engines, wheel slip, generator unloads momentarily, ground protected, the run 5 to 6 only, and the engine stops suddenly, and symptoms, engine idle, and gear generator unloads. Engine fuel cutoff, engine stops suddenly, engine stops eventually, low oil pressure on high oil section, engine stops suddenly, isolation switch, engine goes into idle and generator unloads, fuses and control switch, all engines stop eventually, engine goes into idle and generator unloads, no AC voltage, engine stops suddenly, runs 5 and 6 only, blue light and the engine runs in idle, interlocks control circuit, the generator unloads, loss of control air, generator unloads, throttle emergency stop, all engines stop suddenly, and jumper cable, engine stops suddenly, engine goes into idle, and generator unloads. And then this goes over the parts of the locomotive, like they're very long. Steam generator. I think I'm going to skip this section, come back to it the next day.